Afternoon, morning, evening, middle of the night, day to everybody. Thank you for coming, and thank you, Krishna, for inviting me to participate with this wonderful panel. I've been really enjoying hearing what everyone has to say. My name is Sharon Glazer. I'm a professor and chair of the Division of Applied Behavioral Sciences at the University of Baltimore. My background is cross-cultural, industrial, and organizational psychology. So my background is in psychology, not a teaching education background, but I believe psychology is supposed to be studying human behavior. And in my field, it's studying human behavior in the workplace. And unfortunately, we often forget the importance of culture and how it shapes who we are. And so I'm trying to bring that back into the classroom and into the experiences of students. Melissa earlier mentioned selection bias. One of the problems I think that we have in our world of studies for our students is that once the students graduate from their undergraduate studies, we think that they're capable of exploring the world on their own, and they are, but many don't have the opportunity. And so at the graduate level, as well as the undergraduate level, I developed a virtually abroad program, which brings an international experience to my students without having to leave once they are graduate students, but also undergraduate students. We know that travel isn't easy for many reasons. Either it's too expensive, fear of flying, mobility constraints, sight impairment, family responsibilities, work responsibilities, and so forth. So what we've done is brought a unique opportunity to expose students to international experiences through intercultural interactions. I've done it in 2-week programs, 4-week programs, and 10-week programs. I'll give you a brief overview of some of the things to consider as you develop this. You can have one or more partners, but you need to have at least one. And you need to start at least 12 months in advance in preparing, because time conception differs across cultures. And when my colleagues go on vacation, unlike the American colleagues, they really go on vacation. I'm theoretically on sabbatical right now, and I say theoretically because in the United States, you don't actually get to separate so much as we'd like to. We're not good at that in the United States. So here are some things to consider. First, make sure your student learning outcomes are clearly articulated with one another and aligned. So you may have some differing student learning outcomes, but you have to have some joint outcomes. So you need to figure out what course are you both teaching. It doesn't have to be the same course, but the activity has to yield similar ideas that the students will gain from the experience. Second, grading, marking schemes. Make sure you're aligned, because if your colleague or colleagues are grading on a different rubric than you are, then there will be chaos between the students, and some students may put more or less effort as a result. Think about the timing, the time zone differences, 2 a.m., 5 a.m. for various people on this call today. If you're coordinating with a partner that's 12 hours away or 13 hours away, you might have to think about doing something that is more virtual. You have to think about participation documentation. Your partner, colleague might need you to write a letter saying that you're participating with them. So you need time to get that from your dean or vice president. Making sure that you're clear, both ends, on the selection criteria for the students. And I have 0 seconds left, I see. Think about your timeline very carefully. When are their vacations? When are your vacations? What does a weekend mean? Can you allow people to work on weekends? Think about your roles, who creates them, who provides information, who documents, who communicates to the students, how do you communicate? Think about your communication platforms, making sure you can share. For example, Teams doesn't really work across cultures because Teams is usually within the university environment and doesn't extend beyond in sharing files. How do you require students to communicate, their frequency? I'll just stop with the last piece. Well, it's not the last, but it's going to be now, is assessments. Make sure that you create well in advance an assessment of not only the program that you've created, but the students' growth and development. And think about, as someone was saying earlier, a matched sample of students who are not participating. So you know if there's true growth and as opposed to contrived growth. So I apologize. Someone had asked about STEM. I think Stephanie had asked about giving experiences and access through for people who are in STEM. And so it's very similar to the graduate students who don't often have opportunities to study abroad. So a virtually abroad experience is one that really gives students access, even if they're in STEM. So if you're even writing a report related to chemistry, you could have them still collaborate and work together. An important feature of infusing an experience for students, even abroad, is a social aspect. So having the students work together on an escape room, or what I'm doing next month is I'll have my students join a cooking class competition. You know, food is going to be an important part of bringing people together. So have them cook uh, foods from different countries together through a cooking class competition. Have them do an escape room that you can do online now, as opposed to just having to be in person, to give that experience. And then talk about the different roles that people played in those escape rooms. And if you have those conversations about people's roles, then the students start to hear about different lenses. When someone was a leader and someone from another country will say, you weren't a leader, you were bossy, but that's not leadership. You start to have conversations about the kind of roles people take and the perspectives that people have from different countries on those roles. So having those types of experiences, social ones, infused within the academic studies is vital for the international experience. And you have to start those early in the program, and then try to invite them all throughout the program, having different ones like that, so they get more and more comfortable with one another and eventually stay in touch with each other, which many of my students have, and they've widened their networks as a result, their professional networks.
Thank you.